from California.
And a new ad says John McCain is out of touch since he can't use email, but that's not the whole story. Hear why Barack Obama's camp should have done its homework before attacking that man.
He admits he still doesn't know how to use a computer. 1982. John McCain goes to Washington.
Well, that's part of the ad. The Obama camp is trying to paint John McCain as out of touch because what they did was they said back in the day, John McCain went to Washington, D.C., and then now he can't even email. But perhaps they missed an important fact. Jake Tapper over at ABC says that John McCain doesn't really want this revealed. However, he has trouble emailing because of injuries he sustained during torture as a POW. Let's have a fair and balanced debate right now. Chip Saltzman is former Huckabee campaign manager, and Marianne Marsh, Democratic strategist as well. Hey, Chip, let's start with you. So this ad says, John McCain doesn't know what he's doing. He's not, he's not with it these days. He's old school, clearly because, he's just not with it. But in fact, the reason he can't email, and apparently it's been well documented, is the fact that that kind of motion, it doesn't feel good from all of his injuries as being a POW. You would have thought they would have thought of that ahead of time. Marianne, a lot of people who would just look at that ad on first blush, they go, wow, even my grandma knows how to email. But then when you know the backstory that John McCain can't do that kind of repetitive thing because of his injuries from torture, that just seems insensitive. What's extraordinary, though, is the fact that it talked about how John McCain is so out of it, he doesn't even know how to email. Well, as it turns out, it has been Jake Tapper over at ABC discovered this, and the John McCain camp really didn't want him writing about it. But as it turns out, the reason he cannot email or text message is because of his war wounds, because typing on a keyboard for sustained periods of time bothers him. It just doesn't feel good, so he does not do it. He does check out websites, and he does. Most of his emailing is done by his wife, apparently.
Well, apparently he has said in past interviews, as far back as 2006, that he does read his emails, but he doesn't write any of them, that he solicits the help of his wife to help him do that. I found this fascinating to find out that it would be a war wound as to why he would not be able to sit at the computer. I guess when you think about it, it makes sense because he cannot even comb his own hair. He can't reach his arms above. And Brian, you point out that in the old video, it seems that he used to be able to do this, but arthritis has since set in from the war injuries that he did receive.
And we just had somebody that was a POW at the same time as him, Colonel Swindle, Orson Swindle, who said it's pretty much well known for a long time that he can't do that. He can't do any of that fine motor skill stuff because it's just too painful. And he says, but he doesn't take it personally. He doesn't think John McCain does, but he says because it's silly season. They have nothing else to talk about.
And John McCain doesn't want people feeling sorry for him, so he doesn't bring that up. And he has in the past referred to himself as a Neanderthal, that, technologically he doesn't do a lot of that stuff. But it just hurts. His torture has prevented him from using the email machine. So it's just extraordinary that somebody at the Barack Obama campaign didn't just Google this to make sure, okay, now maybe he doesn't email because of torture, because that has been chronicled for a number of years.
But what happened? George Bush, the 41st President of the United States, severely hurt when he went shopping and didn't know how those scanners work.
At the grocery store.
He's out of touch with the everyday person, and that was their goal. Make sure we lock in that young person vote who lives on the email, lives on the BlackBerry, and doesn't understand how no one else does.
But as it turns out, it's because of a disability.
Right.
Also, we're going to talk about this. Barack Obama has attacked John McCain for not being able to use email, but wait until you find out why he doesn't use email. It has to do with his torture in the Hanoi Hilton.
He admits he still doesn't know how to use a computer, can't send an email.
And shedding a different light on a fresh attack ad from Barack Obama's team. If you have not seen it yet, check it out. Roll it here.
1982. John McCain goes to Washington. Things have changed in the last 26 years, but McCain hasn't. He admits he still doesn't know how to use a computer, can't send an email, still doesn't understand the economy, and favors $200 billion in new tax cuts for corporations, but almost nothing for the middle class. After one president who was out of touch, we just can't afford more of the same.
Can't use a computer, can't send an email, can't type on a keyboard. Bill Burton, spokesman for the Obama team, with us again from Chicago. Bill, good morning to you. Why was that important to have that in the ad?
Well, that ad is important overall because It says something about John McCain and how in touch he is with the American people's lives. You know, just today, just moments before
Did it
you and I
occur to
started
you
talking.
that he can't
Hold on one
use the
second, Bill.
keyboard
Just moments before you and I started
because of
talking.
Vietnam War wounds he suffered for 5.5 years of captivity?
One second, Bill. Let me just answer your question.
Did you know that?
Yeah, just before, so I can answer your question. Just before you and I started talking, John McCain said on stage that the fundamentals of our economy are strong. And so that ad that talks about the fact that John McCain's out of touch. He doesn't know how to use a computer.
And he also said in the same sentence that, you know, Wall Street's got issues, and if I'm president, I'll clean this stuff up. Back to the point. Did you know he can't use a key? I'm just quoting from what I'm reading from the campaign rally in Jacksonville, Florida.
But if John McCain thinks that the fundamentals of our economy are strong, then he should stand by that comment. As for your question about whether or not he can use a computer, I read an interview with him in the New York Times and another with him in the San Francisco Chronicle where he said that he was in fact learning how to use a computer and he was learning how to email, but he wasn't quite there yet. So
did it occur to you that the injuries he suffered in the Hanoi Hilton is the reason why?